Hello, and welcome to another Rochester Repertory Theater YouTube exclusive. I'm Rebecca Sands, and today we have with us Larry Sinak. Larry has been involved with the Rep since 1987 and has served as an actor, board member, and board president. Thanks for joining us, Larry.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Good. I'm glad you could. We're going to go ahead and get started right away. So you've been involved since 1987. What got you started with the Rep?
Yeah. Well, I've been an actor for my entire life. In fact, I usually tell people that I'm really an actor at heart, but I like to eat, so I went to medical school.
That's important.
I had done a number of shows at the Rochester Civic Theater, and the Rep got started in the early 1980s, and in 1987 I decided to go audition for a show there. And I auditioned for The Real Thing by Tom Stoppard, and I got the lead role.
Ooh.
And the rest is history. Here we are 30 years later.
Fantastic. Well, that's a great story. What is your first theater memory? You said you've done theater for a while.
Yeah.
What is your first theater memory?
My first theater memory is going way back when I was in grade school. I grew up in Detroit.
Didn't know that.
My mother would take us occasionally downtown to the Fisher Building to see touring Broadway shows. And the first live show I ever saw was a touring company of My Fair Lady.
Oh.
And that's really the first theater experience I can remember, which obviously was tremendous.
It would have been a very good one.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. What is it about a theater that keeps you coming back?
Me personally, it's the opportunity to get on stage and tell a story and to interact with the audience and to try to convey through my actions and voice and words a story that can reach, touch the people in some way, either emotionally, physically occasionally, but something that will touch their heart and their brains. I think as an audience member, I like watching people tell stories on stage and seeing how they convey their stories with their words and actions, and then having the interaction between the audience and the performers, where you can see the performance slightly shift depending on how the audience reaction
Feeding
is.
off the energy
And you know what that's like when
yes,
you're on
the
stage and
relationship.
you're
I
trying
love
to get that reaction from the
Yeah.
audience and then working on that. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great.
It is. It's almost palpable sometimes too, and that's what I feed off of, when you can feel that they're there with you. You just want to.
Yeah.
All right, if you're all in, so am I. Let's do this. I love it. At the Rep, you started off with a lead role. What is your dream role?
Obviously, there are many dream roles, but, and I've had the opportunity to play several of them that I would consider dream roles. Henry Drummond in Inherit the Wind, the guy who was modeled after the famous lawyer Clarence Darrow at the Scopes Monkey trial. Okay. And I got to play Niels Bohr in Copenhagen, which is a fantastic show and a fantastic role. A role I have always wanted to play but have not yet had the opportunity is the psychiatrist Martin Dysart in Equus.
Oh.
There's another role that I'm hoping to play within the next couple of years, which is the poet in an Iliad.
Oh, that would be good too. That's a good one. My problem is I have a lot of dream roles, and then I have a lot of dream roles. If I was a guy, these are the roles I would want to play.
You just need to find somebody to direct them with a female cast.
Right. Who knows?
Which can be done.
We'll see
So,
what happens.
and I guess I should throw in for the classicists out there, and because I've portrayed actors who have portrayed him, Lear.
What other forms of art, if any, are you involved in?
Right now, not any. When I was younger, I played the trombone. And when I was in medical school, I played in the jazz band.
Fun.
But that sort of fell by the wayside, and I wasn't that good of a trombone player, to be honest. Other than that, the only other artistic activity that I'm heavily involved in is supporting my wife as a visual artist.
That's big. That's a good. You've mentioned medical school a couple of times. So what is it that you do outside of the rep?
Yeah. Outside of the rep, I spend a lot of my time at St. Mary's Hospital. I'm a staff cardiologist at the Mayo Clinic. I'm a expert in non-invasive cardiac imaging, particularly the use of ultrasound to take pictures of the heart, echocardiography, and I've become expert in subspecial procedures, doing transesophageal echo, where we put probes in the esophagus, and take pictures of the heart, and doing a procedure called pericardiocentesis, which involves draining fluid that collects in the sac around the heart.
Okay. Wow, impressive. So that's what you do so that you can eat, and then you come here and play.
Yes. And of course, I have my family. I should mention them so that they don't think I've forgotten them.
Well, you did already mention your wife, so I think.
My wife, Ann, and then we have 2 children, Leslie and Michelle.
If you had to try to define or describe yourself in a sentence, what would it be?
Describe myself in a sentence. Okay.
This is why I'm the interviewer. It's tough.
A intelligent, obsessive, compulsive, perfectionist with high demands on himself and who enjoys his friends and family.
I think that's good. What is your favorite word?
Favorite word? This is going to sound weird, but it's probably pericardiocentesis. But
It's a nice big word.
I may be hung up on that because I've already done 2 of them today. But it's an interesting word. I think it's derived from the Greek. Pericardio means of the pericardium, which is the thin layer of fibrous tissue that surrounds the heart. And centesis, the latter part, comes from the Greek word kentesis, which means to puncture. So the word actually means to puncture the pericardium.
I think it's interesting that what you do as a day job is also what you do for play, but just in a very different way. Because what you like to do as an actor is to have that impact on your audience.
Yes.
To have that emotional reaction. You want to challenge them to see or feel something different. So while you're doing it actually physically for your day job, you're doing it more on a deeper emotional level when you're playing. And I just think that's interesting that it kind of
That's very
all
insightful.
worked out that way. Thank you. The last question I have for you is, what is the best piece of advice you have ever received?
The best piece of advice. So when I'm making rounds at the hospital, I have all these phrases of advice and wisdom that I pass on to the residents that I'm teaching. One of my favorites is from my high school tennis coach, Tony Malinowski. I call this the Malinowski rule, which is always change a losing game, never change a winning game. So if what you're doing works, keep doing it, and if it's not working, then change. So my favorite slogan, it's not quite advice, but it's almost advice, is good judgment comes from experience, and experience comes from bad judgment.
Oh, so true. Well, thank you so much for sitting down and talking with us today. We really appreciate you coming out and joining us. And thank you for tuning in. This has been Larry Sinak with Rebecca Sands for another Rochester Repertory Theater YouTube exclusive. Please comment, like, and subscribe to keep up to date on all that's happening at your local theater in Rochester, Minnesota, The Rep. Thanks so much and have a great day.